Imagine having access to the latest news at your fingertips. Introducing the newly rebranded and improved Daily Nation website. With our innovative online flipping page feature, you can read the newspaper just like you would in print. Plus, with our subscription-based model, you will get access to exclusive content, archives, and more. So why wait? Sign up now and experience the future of news. Daily Nation, now at your fingertips.
Good evening, our esteemed viewers, and welcome to the National Economic Indaba program. This evening, we are discussing the importance of insurance for MSMEs. My name is Nakiwe Simpungu. As usual, I'm your host. And to those that are joining us via our social media platforms on the National Economic Indaba platform on Facebook, you're welcome. Those that are joining us on Millennium TV on Facebook, thank you for making time to join us. And those that are joining us on Channel 95, on Top Star, equally, you are very welcome to the program. Our guest is very exciting guest this evening because he is an insurance expert. He is the head of operations at Prudential Insurance. And as I said before, he is an insurance and finance expert. His name is Mr. Victor Jalabani. I hope I got your name correctly, Mr. Jalabani.
You got it right. Thanks, Nakiwe. And I'm so excited to be on Millennium TV.
Right.
I hope the viewers will get something from our conversation regarding the SMEs and the microns.
Right. We are very excited to have you, because to discuss insurance, we needed to get somebody who is right there deeply into the insurance, and your, portfolio speaks for itself. So, we have a lot to discuss, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, obviously, we want to know what insurance is and why is it so important.
All right. So for the purpose of tonight's discussion, I will say insurance is a medium of preserving business. So we're talking about business. Yes. So insurance is a medium of preserving business. So it's a medium of securing potential losses. Unfortunately, we are in an economy where the small enterprises, the medium enterprises are not so much into insurance. The penetration for these entities is very low. And that's how I would stretch its importance in tonight's discussion. So the importance of insurance for the M and SMEs is basically its value in preserving, the worth of that business. So insurance literally is broad. There are many risks that the MSMEs do face. And if you look at them at operational level, finance level, even liability and other concerns that could come, every enterprise deserves to be guarded against potential loss. And this is the importance of insurance. So for the purpose of this evening's discussion, I'll speak a lot more about the practicability of insurance another academic way of defining insurance, but literally how practical it is and how it could benefit our smaller enterprises in our economy.
Now, you've mentioned, that there isn't many people or MSMEs that are into insurance. I heard you say that, at the beginning. Why is that?
The penetration issue, I could say, is an economical issue. This is an economical endeavor. And we have several times discussed where, as an economy, we are slacking behind. So insurance is one of the sectors that has not penetrated generally in the entire economy. So talking about the smaller entities, the medium entities and those that are micro, many are times that these entities are run by individuals. And our penetration as a whole country, insured individuals are literally very few. We're talking about a penetration that is below 5% of our population. So there are very few entities that have considered insurance as a benefit. So we're talking about economic opposition. The landscape over the past years has been slow. The good news, however, is that there's growth. There is a change. There is acceptance. There is literacy going on. And owners of the medium entities are now becoming aware, except we need an awareness like this that we have on this Indaba to just make more people realize its value. And then we should be talking about a higher penetration as the economy evolves.
Great stuff. Now, you are coming from Prudential Insurance, so we are not specifically talking about Prudential, but insurance in general. But maybe you can give us a case study of Prudential. How, do you take time to sensitize the MSMEs on the importance of insurance?
Talking about Prudential, Prudential now in Zambia is a household name.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And we are champions currently in terms of financial literacy. So when you get on the street, you get on media, you get anywhere where we are, we're flooded across the country, you discover that much of our footprints are to do with financial literacy even before we could convey the economy into our clientele. So to reach out to the MSMEs, we definitely have, as we secure, their life risks, occupational risks, that, the MSMEs are affected by. And of course, majority of them have also secured a chance to sign up with Prudential with retail products. These are institutions that are run by few people, and their families also ought to be secured. So we have a footprint regarding financial literacy, starting from the younger people to the older people and to the society that is doing business.
Great stuff. Okay, so now we get into it, Mr. Jalabani. What type of insurance products are available now, for the MSMEs?
All right, let me talk about the risks that the MSMEs are affected. So we can talk about various risks. Let me talk about non-life risks and then talk about life risks. So in the operations of MSMEs, there are concerns. For example, financing, operations, and liability. There are also concerns to do with compliance and a few other issues. These need to be guarded so that the business that somebody begins or an entity begins can thrive over a long period of time despite calamities that may come their way. So the type of insurance that is there, I'll start with occupational type of insurance. An MSME can have employees. Those employees need to be, covered against funeral expenses, as an example. So an MSME may want to protect their employees against funeral expenses. They may want to protect their employees for income replacement for their families by signing up life cover, which is not necessarily funeral expenses. MSMEs may opt to cover their employees for medical expenses. You know, today medical expenses could be higher if you're not prepared at the time the illnesses come. So majority of the MSMEs will be thinking about covering their employees, their spouses, their children. Should any one of them fall ill, they'll be taken care of. These are occupational types of insurance that are found in the market today. And majority of MSMEs now are opening up. How can we preserve ourselves? Why am I calling them losses or risks? It's because when any of these befall, the institution gets, into its pocket for operational cash. So insurance comes in as a redemption of security if an MSME had cover. We have non-life risks, for example, liability. You are running a small enterprise and one of your staff just causes a loss in your way of work. How do you compensate the affected third party? So insurance comes in as a relief. It could be your vehicle, it could be your professional negligence, it could be anything. So liability comes in anywhere. And this is a point where majority of the small enterprises, you just have one little accident or one little error, your business falls because you use everything you have to compensate the third party who brings liability suit on you. Besides that, asset protection. You have 2, 3, 4 vehicles. I love following the likes of Dumisani. There was one time when he was talking about having a business and trucks and going into accidents. Oh, okay. So you have this one truck or 2, 3 trucks and then they catch fire. What do? It ends there. Or you have a little warehouse where you keep everything that makes profit for you and they catch fire. Or you've got a storm or theft. So there is need to protect the assets for every business. It doesn't matter how little it is. It's not long ago when we had City Market catching fire.
I remember that.
There could have been 1 or 2 clever people who, despite being micro entrepreneurs, they could have had security. So a smaller entity is the one that really needs to cover the little asset that they have for the business. The last one I can talk about perhaps is interruption for business. There are so many reasons why business could be interrupted. One of them is a pandemic. Yes, we're coming from COVID. We had certain institutions closed. Now that's when we could see who really is a medium entity. Yes, so those who were huge could have had, reserves in their businesses. But then here is me who can't afford to place reserves in cash. So all my business is liquid and all I need is security. So if I have got cover for business interruption due to a pandemic, business interruption due to theft, business interruption due to loss of a key person in my entity. So there is just a broader range of products that the micro, medium and smaller enterprises need to secure the future of their businesses. Many of these that we see folding up, it's because they never realized to pick even just one of the mitigating factors that I have mentioned in terms of types of insurance.
Interesting.
Yes.
But, I would like to discuss something that I'm sure our viewers are itching to hear about. The insurance claim, in this country. There have been complaints far and wide that it is not as, quick as a person would like it. For instance, if, a vehicle, is damaged beyond, repair and whatnot, and the person, goes to the insurance company and puts in a claim, that it takes too long, to get their claim. Is this the case with Prudential? And generally, what is your experience as a person in insurance?
I see. Nakiwe, I'm not going to talk about Prudential.
But generally?
There's one thing that the user of insurance hasn't identified today in the market. Insurance has evolved.
Okay.
So the biggest factor of many insurers today is a customer. And a customer is identified at the service level.
Okay.
So today, insurers are competing to settle claims on time. What could have been there
before
and maybe told in a story, and it was louder than the true story, has remained as a myth. But there could be reality in a few houses where maybe client service has not been prioritized. You know, I'm coming from a place where client service for us is key. It's one of our values. You know, our customer is our campus at Prudential. A customer is the reason why the insurer exists. So there is a myth that claims take time. What really takes time sometimes is the path that the claimant takes in pursuing insurance. I'll give you an example. There was a belief that it's hard to get a driver's license. And up to now, people think so. When I was renewing my driver's license at a certain place, I just spent a few minutes, and I had my card. So if you go into an insurance office and you always want to use somebody to stand in for you, you always want to justify the loss, there is literally nothing necessary to justify. When you have a loss, you just present proof. There is a study that I wanted to take, but I stopped midway. I came to discover, for example, motor insurance. There are so many people, especially the medium-scaled investments, when they've got a loss, you know, the facilities officer will not straight away go into the insurance office. They literally want to look for somebody to help them. And it is that which delays many of the claims. The other part is where the insured has not understood the policy and how it operates. So the insurer will actually tell you, we can settle this in a week, we can settle it in 21 days, we can settle it in 2-3 days. All you need to do is look at the process that they've shared. What do you need to submit? Is it coming on time? Other insurers will even go to an extent of saying every valid submission. I hate that statement. If you come and queue, you have a loss, you have a loss. There's nothing like valid submission. I should have spoken to you and told you, for every loss, make sure you bring 1, 2, 3, 4, so that we can evaluate the cause of loss. Remember, insurance sits on the principle of proximate cause of every loss that comes in. So we have to evaluate and underwrite what caused the loss, the insurable interest involved by you, the claimant. We check whether there was consideration in terms of premiums. We also check whether there was care, due care in loss reduction during the days when you were covered. You know, it's this little principle. There are basic 7 principles that every insurer will look at in underwriting a claim as it comes, and those can be done in a short while. So you find the delay and the passage that the claimant takes. Others would want even to make amendments to the loss, alter the loss, want to make things faster. Literally, this is not the reason, the main reason, but we all just need the belief that client service is now the driver of business. So to my knowledge, I've been door to door. Every insurer today is fighting for the best client service. So if there is a service that has not been rendered well, I think it's at customer service level. What is it that that particular insurer hasn't done? What is it that hasn't been communicated? And I encourage the MSMEs, when you get your cover, it doesn't matter what kind of cover, seek assistance. Sometimes you could use a broker, you could use an agent who is licensed, somebody who understands the terms of the policy, let them explain to you the details of the cover. Perhaps you could as well sit and get a consultant. I've helped so many people, including medium entities, to secure affordable and good insurance. Seek consultancy. Go to the insurer, sit and understand your cover, get value for what you've paid for. It is not good to hear or learn that an insurance claim has delayed to be paid. This is an old thing, but literally, if it really occurs, it's something to be assessed and see what is going on. You know, the market is evolving. The customer now becomes a key element in delivering insurance.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go.
Absolutely, that's true. Okay, so how is the insurance tailored to meet the unique needs of MSMEs?
You know, insurance started with small investors. It started with small economies. Like for life insurance, as an example, it started like burial societies. Few people sit together and say, if one of us dies, how do we bury? They put little coins together. So MSMEs come to an insurer not as an inferior prospect. Every insurer that I see today actually values MSMEs. You know why? they make what we define as a mass market for corporate business.
Oh, absolutely. Mass market.
I don't know if I've said it well. Okay. So in a retail environment, people go to city market to go and look for the main numbers. So if I'm to go in a corporate world, if I'm not going to get the Lumwana mine, I'm not going to get the big Zescos, then I need to rush for MSMEs. So there is a lot of innovation to tailor what is needed for an MSME. So, like I said, operational costs could come due to a loss. So if an MSME comes and they tell me this is what I do, the most important thing an insurer does today is to customize. Majority of the insurers, they're going to customize. So either they'll pick the medium entity as it is, or they'll look for means of pooling similar entities and price them equally. So the solutions that are there, most common today, on the occupational side, like I said, tailor-made services for funeral. You know, if I'm a small entity and my worker has a funeral, it should be easy for me to help that family than ask them to go then come back when they are done with bereaving. It's not right. Or if I lose a staff, everybody says, let's go where he used to work. So what is it that is in for me? Should I get from the till? I should have had cover for all my employees. So usually tailor in this regard is on price because of the marginal numbers. You know, MSMEs have few people that they've employed, little number of staff complement, which requires custom pricing. You know, we are in a country where because of low penetration, every insurer has been running for the bigger companies. So I could get huge, you know, lists of employees for group cover. I could get a large complement of asset register for, you know, for asset protection. And because of that, I price low. So when a loan risk comes, I want to price high. Today, that is a story of odd. So all I would do is Nakiwe runs this business, James runs that business. I'll get 10 businesses that look similar. I talk to them and I tell them, I can give you cover for your assets. You look alike. I know your risk is high because you are few, but because I've gotten 10, 15 of you, I can customize and give you a product that suits the level of your business income. So even when you spend, you don't say insurance is for large entities. Look at liability. You are a law firm and you are 3 of you. You are an MSME. What happens if one of your legal professionals messes up and the client comes for another lawsuit? Or what happens if you are a technical, you know, service provider and one of your technical people causes liability due to negligence or even just a normal error? Where do you get your money from? So an MSME will require to be identified as one who is vulnerable to loss. And for me to customize and give them, you know, a tailored product, I need to understand what they do. So I've noticed insurers are getting to the game and they are able to go around and offer what suits these smaller numbers. You know, it's on that in Zambia again today, people don't like teaming up to get something cheaper or to get something more effective or economical. So it's high time, like we are talking on Millennium TV today. If there are 2, 3, 4 MSMEs that are here, I'm sure they could have an association. They could have a market, and it is that market that would determine how I tailor the product. Yes. Otherwise, every other kind of insurance suits even the smaller entity.
Interesting stuff indeed. To those that are just joining us, we are discussing insurance for MSMEs on the National Economic Indaba show, and our guest this evening is Mr. Victor Jalabani from Prudential Insurance. So now, Mr. Jalabani, can you explain the benefits of business interruption insurance for MSMEs?
All right, Adelia mentioned something about business interruption. Business interruption basically comes due to unexpected losses, which actually stop your business. So you stop having revenue, you stop making profits. There's one thing that is common in business, overheads. So your overheads keep running. When you close because there is COVID, you still continue to pay rent. In many instances, you still continue to pay electricity, you pay your staff, even when they are home. That's a clear example of business interruption. So MSMEs require business interruption cover. Especially, like I said earlier, that they do not have a backing reserve, for their financial continuity. So a standard business interruption policy will cover losses like fire, pandemic, interruption due to political, uncertainty, although many insurers run away from this one, but wow, today it has just to be covered. We don't live in a terrible political environment, so I can issue cover and tell a business to say, look, even if there is political interference, because it's not intended, it's not even there, I can give you protection for you to soothe the stress for the days when you don't make money. That's a non-life product, and it will be priced dependent on probable losses. You tell me how much would you lose in such an interrupted period. So even when we write the business, we would have ascertained how much you'd have lost if you stopped for maybe a minimum of 5, 6, 7, 8 days, working days, a month. The benefits literally are that should such an occurrence happen and your business closes, maybe because there was a pandemic, there was a fire, there was some kind of unrest, there could have been a theft, there could have been maybe normal business interruption such as machine failure or whatsoever you may have. I'll still give you an equivalent of the profits you would have made. I could have paid your staff. I could have paid your renters in the period when you never made revenue. So literally that's business interruption for MSMEs. And who wouldn't love to get such protection? Yeah, who wouldn't love to get such protection? Every business player really need to be covered against such risks. This is a very real risk.
A very real risk.
Yes.
Now, how does liability insurance protect MSMEs from potential lawsuits?
Liability comes because the business has caused a loss in somebody's yard. Let me start with simple liability. Motor insurance. You have a truck and it hits into somebody's property. You are liable to bring back that property to where it was as a business because your driver did that. It's not an issue of I'll fire you or get your pension to repair that. No. Business doesn't operate like that. He's your best driver. You get it? So that's liability. That's how it comes. Okay. So liability protection comes in so many ways. There are also other elements of liability protection. For example, actions that are done by your employees because they are deemed to be professionals. I'll give you an example. A doctor in a small clinic, a nurse who messes up, what happens? Do they sue the nurse? They'll sue the hospital. And we have a lot of MSMEs in the health sector today. So majority of them go to court and they struggle to pay the lawsuits. You're paying a lawyer instead of paying for your profits. So liability comes in so many ways. Other areas, it's just normal, legal suits that come in the course of contracts. So a business can have a contractual default and be sued. And you know how legal minds are. You could lose and fold your business. So if you've got legal protection, that comes due to the liability that could have been caused by either your staff or even just your entity as a whole. You needed to cover yourself. Again, like I said, a bigger entity, a multinational institution, it doesn't mind how often they go to court. They go to court on inferior charges. But a smaller entity will go to court on a charge that equals their revenue, a charge that equals their profits. So it's therefore very important that they get protection against liability that happens due to the actions of the employees or literally just the environment itself. I'm in Millennium TV today. If any little light or anything falls on my head, the station is liable to compensate me for various ways, and I may come with a very high demand. So that is liability. So MSMEs literally need to gather liability. I don't know if I've answered your question, but to make it simpler, so that you've asked liability, insurance is cheaper. Insurance is not expensive. What determines the cost is the size of your risk. If your risk is deemed as MSME risk, then your premiums would also be MSME premiums. So there is always cover for liability. And every MSME should think about how they can be protected against such.
Okay, so what is the difference now between a standard business insurance policy and a customized policy for MSMEs?
A standard business policy, usually businesses get concepts from theories. Insurers go to seek theories of how underwriting is done, how policies look like. So if you come in an insurer's house and say, I want a motor policy, there would have been a standard. This is how they sell. Now remember, we are in an economy where there are fewer individuals and MSMEs who've gotten insurance, so their products are scarce. So a standard policy, if you work in an insurance company for funeral, they will tell you, pay this little premium, we will cover you for funeral expenses. And the majority of funeral policies today have been signed by large entities, those who have hundreds of employees, and they are used to pay very little premiums on marginal numbers of employees. That's how the pricing has been done. So generally, when you go into an insurance house to secure insurance for you as an individual, for example, health insurance, in Zambia today, you find it's very hard to get an individual health policy. Just as difficult as it is to get a small employer to sign up for health insurance, to sign up for group funeral, to sign up for group life. Most insurers will say we need a minimum of 10, 15, 20 employees. And then you only have 9. So everybody is operating on a standard structure, on a base scope of how insurance is being done in the market, because where we are coming from, they've been selling to groups. So an underwriter will say, look, you are an MSME, I'd love you to come. I'm going to wade. When I say wade, I mean I'll put conditions that suit the size of your entity. I'm going to price dependent on your entity. You know, an insurer determines price based on the probable numbers he expects would come in the loss pool. So if you bring in fewer numbers, he will not make a profit. But he can customize to suit the size of your entity. And like I said earlier, it works well when I cluster my prospects. Very few insurers today are this kind of innovative. They are scared. I once happened in my past insurance experience, have been part of an underwriting team that designed an MSME product for life. And we were so excited. 2, 3, 4 claims. Hey, the money is gone. Oops. You know, all the reserves are eaten because they are few. Okay. So then we said we can't sell to such. If I cluster them alone. So it now depends on me thinking beyond. I shouldn't sell the product the way I sell to the large entities. So I'll call them. How is your risk? For example, health insurance. You bring in 10 people, they pay 5,000 kwacha for health service. One person goes in the CT scan, everything's gone. But if they come 10,000, they'll not be sick, all of them at once. So I'll price them lower, they'll pay me 3,000. So now here's one who has 5 employees. Should I price him 3,000 as well? Within that little 3,000, one little claim, the loss ratio is high. So customizing for MSMEs requires me to create value for the MSME. I have to understand my market. I really need to see what the real need for the customer is. He'll come and say, look, I want to cover my assets, but you are refusing to price me the way you've priced Zesco. No, Zesco came with a lot of assets. They're not, you know. So I really need to understand and get down. So I have to cluster him. Who else looks like him? I talk to them. And as an insurer, I don't need to be averse. I need to take the risk, price, you know, prudentially without getting into a loss. Because when I have mispriced, I'll fail to pay the claims. So customization literally has a lot to do with client value. Unfortunately, in our economy today, we have very limited sources of data where insurers can get, you know, assumptions. For me to price for an MSME, I should have very workable assumptions on how that cluster is, or even just one particular client. I'll ask him and say, okay, please all come here. I'm willing to take cover for you at 1 million, but I'll need all of you to go for medicals so that I agree with you that none of you is chronically ill before you come into this plan, but I'll cover you should eventuality come. And I can accept that cover. But if they come and they're even anti-selecting, in insurance is what we call anti-selecting, there are few, so they even know who is sick. So they want to place those who are sick on cover so that the benefit could be higher. That is insurance fraud. I don't want to go into it. Most cases... It
would be interesting if you could go into insurance fraud.
We'll come and talk about it later. It's a huge topic.
I see.
We'll come and talk about insurance fraud later, both on the other side and here. Yeah. So we could appreciate what customers can avoid and all that. So for MSMEs, the insurer, what he's seeing is an unclustered risk. And he needs to customize, you know, come down on the price, agree on the benefit. You know, the one who comes should also understand the value that is being transferred into that contract. You know, yes, I think I've answered that question.
Yes, you have. And interestingly, I'm thinking to myself that insurance works more like banks, where banks require that you bring collateral. So there's also issues of you assessing risk on if we do this. Yeah,
it's all about risks.
Risk management. How do you determine premiums for SMEs insurance policies then?
All right, across all types of business, there are standard rates that each insurer would have determined that for this kind of business, I'll charge this. Yeah. You know, insurers always will have a standard table. And it's all good that such a standard table would even be verified by the regulator to make sure that there's a proper consumer consideration. So when I get to MSMEs, literally to price them, I need to determine the risk. If I don't determine the risk, it's a very risky venture for the underwriter. I give an example. Many insurance companies are scared to go in that space because of the numbers. So the only way to get the numbers is to aggregate the business in clusters, like I said earlier, determine probable losses, and have standard rates for that kind of business. We as a market in Zambia, we do have skilled personnel today. You know, there is now a growth of the actuarial fraternity. We're seeing a lot of actuaries coming into insurance business, and today now there's law. Each insurer needs to have a properly appointed actuary. So it's quite easier today. We would go to South Africa, we would go to UK, we would go to Zimbabwe to go and look for an actuary to price for even normal products. So today, MSMEs are easier to deal with. So I'll get data. Like I said, data is difficult to get here. But as an insurer, if I want to reach out to MSMEs, I should be willing to go to the floor, see how clustered they are, price in custom. Majority of insurers would fail because they just want to rate low on the standard non-MSME rate. So to rate premium on an MSME, I need to understand the risk and how it is spread. You know, I need to know the probable losses that are coming. insurers have actually made losses. We have quite a good number of them who look lucrative, but go and check their balance sheet. It's not growing. You go and check their profit and loss. There is always a very bad bottom line because there is always a loss, but they look beautiful on the outskirts because there is a premium that came in. So it's always important that I and the MSME agree that this risk that I'm carrying is worth this protection. So then we'll price accordingly. And MSMEs should not fear when the rating is slightly higher. It could perhaps because we are entering into a game. And over the days, when such a cluster grows in the book, insurers begin to reduce premiums. Have you seen how motor insurance now today is affordable? There is also a discount when you don't claim. So the rating has literally become so easy. People now can guess how much they can pay for motor insurance because it's become a tradition. So tomorrow MSMEs will be easy to price because would have had data, would have insurers who are not cowards, would have had MSMEs who also want to seek protection. Sure.
So now, Mr. Jalabani, how can MSMEs balance the cost of insurance with the need for adequate coverage?
One answer to that question literally is that insurance is a business cost. If I want to budget for revenue, I should budget for costs. I've always advised my friends and other business people to say, look, every time you budget for your household, don't leave out security. So to balance the margins of the business, if deliberately all the medium and small entities can have an attitude, a change of belief that losses are a cost, risks are threats. In every business, when I'm doing my planning in a strategy, I should factor in costs that are probable due to potential losses. So if I have included that in my strategy, to be very easy to pay for them. You will not treat insurance as an inadvertent cost. That just comes because an insurer has walked through my yard. I should have had it as a plan. So in a manner that every business is being inducted to plan, have a business plan, your business plan must have insurance in it. It's a very important provision. Very important provision, I say. So every business undertaking should provide for insurance costs. That makes it so easier. It shouldn't be, above all. No. It will swell your costs because you never planned for them. But if you plan for it, you never feel the challenge. It doesn't matter how little your business is, plan for the protection of your risks.
Great stuff. Now, maybe we get to educating, the MSMEs a little bit here. Could you tell them the process, for filling in a claim as an SME policyholder?
All right. So depending on what type of insurance you sign up, insurers have got different claims procedures. What is so basic in a normal claim literally is proof of loss. It's not about a form. Have I lost? Or has an event occurred which has caused my losses? So in a contract, there is a definition of what the loss is. Make sure, be aware of what you have lost. Was it covered? It doesn't matter whether it's a motor, property, whatever insurance, was what I have lost covered. Then you indicate that loss on the claim, submit everything they ask you to submit, and begin to wait for your discharge. They'll call you, this is how we have evaluated your loss and we'll pay you this much. You go there and agree. If you've got a dispute, you can easily raise it and say, no, the loss is actually this much. Then you quickly agree, then they settle. Every insurer literally feels honored if somebody comes to make a claim. It's something that the insured do not see on the back. So at a time of claiming, every insurer feels honored. They would love to showcase that a customer has now come to get what they bought.
Okay. They don't feel like, oh, they've now come to claim.
It's different. Okay. And that's the reason why I talk to other insurers. I said, look, in the front office there, in your processes, make your process seamless. Let the customer find it easier to claim than they find it easier to sign up for a policy. Yes. This is a challenge that in the market, not only for insurance, whoever is saving a customer, client value is a very big issue in sustaining business. So for MSMEs, what I would encourage them, do not get scared. Whenever there's a loss, engage your underwriter, engage your agent, engage your broker. Let them explain to you how to go about your process. There's nothing wrong in walking through to the insurer and tell them, this is my loss. Do not delay. Some insurers will tell you, we would love to see the loss immediately after it occurs, so do not delay to report. This is a very key, ingredient of success on a claim. You can't have an accident today, then go and claim after 6 months. How do we prove? Exactly. So it's very important for you to understand the claims procedure, regardless of what kind of a claim. Life insurance, most people will tell them, look, you are an employer, or you are the one that has, there must be a process. Administrators of funeral policies in these MSMEs need to know what is required when they lose an employee, when they lose the owner of the company. They should really know how they can quickly get the benefits out immediately. Yes, they shouldn't be part of, those clients who we have been trying to, it's difficult to go and educate clients on how to claim. We'll have to educate them on what really the benefit is. So that when they come and there's a loss, we both get excited to make sure that the impact of the loss will not affect them in their future of their business. Yes. So a claim literally heavily depends on you understanding what cover it was, the process that has been put in place. Do not defray, do not make use of people that are not licensed. Those are some of the people who want to go behind every point. For a police report, you don't need to bribe a cop. You just go and say, I want a police report. Or you bribe somebody, let me not dent the police name. They want, we'll make your report look like. There's nothing to make look like. The car is already damaged. What do you want to make look like? It's damaged. Let them write what they saw. Exactly. Get your claim. Yes. In the ancient underwriting, the underwriter would say, if we find that you were attempting to alter your claim, we will render it void. That's punishing a customer. But literally, because of avoiding insurance fraud and mitigating the effects of exorbitant claims, the insurer will put up measures to make sure that the compensation is within the indemnity that was agreed. The compensation shouldn't exceed what was signed for, what was paid for. And there's a lot of fraud in that regard. So claims literally must be a simple process. Sure.
I know that you say that issue of insurance fraud is a very broad subject that would require more time. But out of interest, because, how do insurance companies do their due diligence to make sure that they, mitigate these issues of fraud, like from a customer? Yes, that is something that I would like to know.
As a Christian, you are, right?
Yes.
It's only insurance where business is done in utmost good faith. Okay. Everywhere else, we put very stern contracts and everything. In insurance, there's a principle of utmost good faith. So the insurer, on receiving an applicant,
will trust.
They will trust the submission. They'll believe they would have given all the material facts that are needed to make a decision on how much they should pay and how they should weigh the policy. So, unfortunately, like any other contract, sometimes there is one who wants to benefit where they didn't sow. So an insurer inviting a claim. Do you know that somebody can have an accident today, get an odd picture of an insurer, of his vehicle, go to an insurance company and maybe even take a different car, get a picture of it. If the insurer is not clever to vet whether that is the real car, then 2-3 weeks later, they will take the number plate back to the defunct car and call the insurer and say, this is what has happened. Yeah. Now, a lot of that is happening, unfortunately. It's not only in Zambia. Insurance has propensity to fraud. Because the benefit you get is far much more than the contribution you make in a premium. Life insurance, People just don't know. There are a lot of people faking death of their relatives. Yes. In my practice, I have actually experienced quite a lot of customers. We don't know the intent. Literally, it's all about to defraud an institution. Yes. So they'll put in a 50 kwacha, they'll fake a husband's death. So insurers, what they do now, the same way they want to underwrite the onboarding, they will require to do more underwriting when discharging a claim. Sorry, we've heard about loss of your parent. Would love you to bring a certified cause of death. Yes. And then you go out, you can't get a certifier, then the word goes round that insurers don't pay claims. It's all because there was one who came with a death certificate which was forged, and you know what I mean. So those things exist. So vetting literally for an insurer, it depends on utmost good faith. And even the underwriting of the wording and everything is dependent on the disclosures that the prospect puts in. I don't know why, because maybe it's a business of faith. Majority of these want to defraud, they are caught up because of inconsistencies in disclosure. You forget what you wrote about your husband. Exactly. Then you come to claim because he has died. And then in real death, he has not died because in his occupation, the insurer has discovered that there is no funeral. They could just make a call at that place where you said he works, and they find that he's busy. Yes, he's busy. So literally, other than just defrauding, there are also laws that regard anti-money laundering, aspects of people performing money laundering through insurance companies. So MSMEs could be a conduit of such, and insurers use the same fraud mitigation methods, as well as compliance issues that are placed by the regulators to mitigate such losses that arise not only to the insurance company but also to an economy. If somebody wants to defraud the economy, they would want to use insurance as a conduit to clean their revenue. Sure.
So now, how long does it take typically to take to settle a claim?
All right. I've experienced a life of an approver. I like paying claims the same day.
It's actually, if everything is in place.
It's up to me.
Oh, okay.
It's not about the company. It's the culture that I have on the customer. So companies differ. So the culture, I'll give you an example where I come from. We have a culture which says the customer is our campus. And everyone has got that belief. So literally, even when the claim delays, everyone is on their toes. What have we done? So they run up and down. To mitigate misbelief and mistrust, turnaround time could be defined. This insurer would say, I'll settle in 36 hours. This one will say, come after a week, depending on the type of claim. Funeral insurance, as an example, many insurers today, even where I'm coming from, our desire is to settle before they bury. Right. You get it? And that's a practice. But there are circumstances in the claim process. Sometimes maybe system failure by some other insurers, they may face this, or the point of lodging the claim. You're lodging a claim, you're in Samfia. How long will it take? So that's why now there's digital, digital business to mitigate the turnaround times. How long does it take? Literally, it should be now. Many insurers have suffered reputation because of not taking the customer as a value for their business. Most of these companies that you've seen that have grown, they've taken up a risk to make sure that they settle their claims. I'm coming from a background where if I get a loss today, let's say it's an occupational loss, this MSME insured their employees, and they come to me. One employee has died. I'm dealing with their HR. Do I need to go check in the mortuary whether they died? I'm dealing with an authentic employer. I have to quickly settle that claim and later on vet. They've buried, they've gotten the money. Then tomorrow if I discover that HR lied, it's easier for me to deal with an MSME. You get it? Than delaying a genuine claim. So MSMEs shouldn't fear because those are entities compared to individuals. So claims literally shouldn't take long. Sure.
So are there any specific requirements or documents needed to support claims?
Depending on the cover that you took, if you are covering an asset, you need to prove ownership of the loss.
Okay.
If a house catches fire, you need to prove that this was your house, this was your property. There must be some evidence that this was yours. If it's your car, you need to prove that this is your car. So the insurer will bring in a test. You who is claiming, are you the one who owned this car even before we insured? Then there's always a standard claim form. Each insurer would want to customize how claims come in so that they are treated the same. So it's always important to understand how the claim form is designed for your insurer. There's somebody I was advising who was buying insurance, and I told them, I said, you know what, at the point of buying, go and tell the insurer to give you even sample forms for claiming. So that when there's a loss, you just pull them from your drawer.
Right.
Don't wait for the loss and it will be. Identity. If you are claiming as an individual, you're claiming as an MSME, are you the one who is claiming? Here's an example. I once dealt with this MSME who covered between 15 and 20 employees. Now, the one who was driving this was the accountant. Okay. So, he's one who knows where the money should go. He's one who has been paying. And he's fired. 6 months later, he comes to claim for the company. Oh. Who do we know? We know him. Yes. Oh, my goodness. So, the claimant must prove ownership of the risk.
Absolutely.
So every claim you need to provide what is called insurable interest. Prove that you are the one of the risk. It doesn't matter what kind of insurance. Be it corporate like we're discussing MSMEs, there must be properly recognizable representation of your business. You know, we are growing the knowledge for MSMEs. One of the things they need to do is to make sure that when we go into these financial contracts, they should have proper presentation, proper representation, which is even enshrined in their contract, that this is the representative or on their letterheads and everything, to avoid a wrong person claiming. Yeah, he's the one who came to sign and he was just an employee and you end up paying to his account.
But no, hold on. Why pay the employee, like the accountant in this instance, you know, is the one that brings the documents and, you know, pays for the insurance for the rest of the company. But then he is fired. And then, you know, he comes to claim a while later, claiming that it's him. But surely there has to be documentation that says that he's just the accountant who's doing it on behalf of a company, right?
Nakiwa, you are representing Nakiwa Enterprise.
Yes.
And you have 5 vehicles. And you employ a Zulu. Zulu goes to an insurer using an Nakiwa letterhead. Who is the custodian? It's Zulu.
It's Zulu, yeah. Okay.
He takes 5 vehicles and they get insured. One of the vehicles is his because you promised him that you are going to pay for him. 3 weeks later, you fire him.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah. So in this instance, it's important for the company to quickly...
there is what is called KYC. It's there now in every financial institution. Whenever anything changes in an institution of an MSME, they need to advise the bank, they need to advise the insurer. An upgrade of a KYC is very important in every financial contract. Today, it's actually law. Regular update of who should represent you. You will come as Nakiwa Enterprise to claim, and you will find all your money is gone. Because somebody had a loss outside the employment of Nakiwa Enterprise. That's fraud, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes. So, literally, insurance for MSMEs must be a formal contract. They need to sign up using the legitimate representation. And that is what is going to make them able to facilitate for claims. You get it right? Yeah.
Great stuff. If you're just joining us, we are on the National Economic Indaba show on Millennium TV. Our guest is Mr. Victor Jalabani, who is, from Prudential Insurance. And to those that are joining us on social media, we're very grateful that you are here with us. We are in the dying minutes of the show. And, Mr. Jalabani, what we want to know now is what risk management strategies do you recommend for MSMEs?
All right, so the first thing is I'll take anything that reduces the risk.
Okay.
Let's talk about business interruption. Arising from a storm, arising from natural causes. This is a non-life cover, so it's talking about securing the business in case there is distraction and you stop operations. Or there is a pandemic and you stop operations. Or whatsoever it may be. That was covered in the policy. And you come to me and tell me, in our environment, we are well secured. Even during COVID, we will operate because of how we are structured. Do you know that during COVID, there are some hotels which managed to run? Yeah. Because they had business continuity measures. So if an SME demonstrates to me that they've got business continuity measures, I'll give them a discount.
Okay.
That's what I can say. Let me talk about life. Here's an entity that wants to cover 10 of their employees against death. And I discover that in their entity, gym is compulsory. They pay for everybody. Okay. I'll give them a low rate. Because there will be few heart attacks in that company. There will be few strokes.
Okay.
Security. A company that secures itself very well for theft, and they want to insure their computers. I'll give them a standard rate because of the investment they've already made in securing their place. That's risk management. I discover in an institution there is a policy to do with health, and I want to give them a funeral cover. They've got a health policy which literally reduces the propensity of loss. I'll give them a discount. Okay. So risk management helps the insurer to rate you fairly. Now, this should not only be for big enterprises. MSMEs must be able to discover how they can mitigate their risks and contribute to the profitability of their business by paying low premiums or even just avoiding losses. So risk management is a long list, but it all starts with how their business is structured. What policies have they put in place to mitigate potential losses? They shouldn't just be. For example, even on vehicles, they should have a policy on a driver. They can't recruit a driver who is less than 5 years experience. That's a plus. Okay. Or their drivers are non-drunkards. That's a plus. And I discover that that works. I'll give them a discount on renewal. I'll give them a discount on first placement. I'll give them little excess. You know, you've heard of excess, where there's a contribution to every loss. Even in life insurance, I should be able to acknowledge everything that the MSME does to lower the propensity of risk.
Great stuff. So now, how can MSMEs prevent common risks such as cyber threats, or property damage?
Cyber threats today usually are on the, the threat is on the insurer's side.
Oh, okay.
The buyer may also buy fake insurance.
How can that?
Nakiwe, I can get in your inbox and sell a very nice policy for you.
Which is altogether.
Which is fake.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's the cyberspace is being.
So today, to deal with cyberspace, there is a word called legitimacy.
Okay.
Yes. So only gate to legitimate, registered, licensed insurers. In Zambia today, even a distributor like an agent, a broker, must be licensed. So if you pursue legitimacy as an insurance taker, you are not going to pay wrong premiums. Your premiums will not go to a wrong place. There is a case study of an insurance agent working for a legitimate insurance company who places an account number which does not belong to an insurance company, and the NACUE pays premiums into that wrong account. You've been, you've been swindled. So anything that you pay away from the insurer, you need to validate that it's legitimate. Are they licensed? Are they really a working insurance company? Is he a right broker? Today in Zambia, we have a lot of brokers, and it's very possible that some other people may just jump in the space and masquerade who are not licensed, and they will get from the MSME huge premiums. So literally, I think on crime, that's what I would say. MSMEs should deal with the legitimate supply of insurance. Yeah.
Now, what level of customer support do you offer for MSMEs, policyholders in insurance?
Great question. NACUE today there is what is called InsurTech.
Okay.
Every insurer is running to methods of delivering client service in a more efficient manner.
Okay.
So MSMEs are examples of customers who require more efficient service. So today insurance must be digital. For small buyers or clustered buyers, MSMEs in a group, MSMEs that are on their own, they need to find it easy to sign up for cover within their confines. They don't need to go and queue in an insurance space. So technology is the new thing to support MSMEs. So giving them the best service today really relies on innovations. There are many institutions now that are coming to support insurance companies for premium collections. People pay for motor insurance now like on phone. So there are insurtechs that come in. You should be able to pay on a portal. You should be able to have a bank account. Today you can buy insurance in the bank. Even motor insurance. So MSMEs should work in a bank and do everything. So the service today is all about innovation. So there is innovation of the product, how the product is distributed, as well as how premiums are paid. Above all, the seamless process of settling a claim. For an MSME who is not highly sophisticated to start chasing your claim, or for them to be identified as a big buyer, they should find it easy to claim. That's on the client service. I don't know if I've answered your question. Thank you.
Great stuff. What trends, are you seeing in the MSME insurance market at present?
What is becoming common is occupational insurance. I spoke about funeral. Of course, asset protection has been a traditional one. Individuals and MSMEs do that. And some of the assets are mandatory, like motor insurance and if they are. So what is trending currently is occupational risks. A lot of medium and small entities today, they would love their employees to be covered for health. And very few insurers have opened up to provide a lucrative cover because of the magnitude too small. Then funeral. So funeral, life cover, as well as health. This is what is on the landscape today. Yes, and a lot of insurers are also looking at how they can aggregate the MSMEs as an entered business or an entered market. So there are a lot of MSMEs that are clustered. For example, suppliers, I could go to ZPPA, put them together, and through ZPPA be able to insure all of them. So this is another thing that is coming on board. Okay. Yes, but I thought I could speak more on the products. Literally, it's the occupational insurance that is coming on board.
Okay.
Sure.
Great stuff. Finally, as we are about to wind up the program, I'd like to know how are emerging risks such as climate change and, pandemics like the COVID that we just had, impacting MSME insurance products. And are there any new innovations? We just talk about the, pandemic and how it's impacting MSMEs insurance products.
One who knows risks more than anybody is an insurer. So insurers are becoming averse. There are things that are unanticipated. To design a product for a loss that is emerging, it's very difficult because we do not know the impact that that loss is bringing. We never knew COVID would be what it was until it came in. And very stable underwriters stood firm. They could pay claims. I come proudly from a place where COVID to us was not a thing. We could cover it and everyone was like, how are you covering it? It's because of the efficiencies in acknowledging potentials in the losses. So for MSMEs today, the risks are literally threatening. So every insurer literally is scared of getting a small pool of like risks. So this challenge can only be mitigated with innovation, either within the small cluster or price for a market, then go and sell, go and sensitize. We no longer want to call it sell, go and educate. When the MSMEs can understand that they are in a risk, then they'll sign up. So talking about climate change, there are a lot of things that have come on board. We've had a lot of MSMEs who lent money to farmers in the previous, climate environment, 2022, 2023, 2024. They lost, they couldn't collect their monies. How do you cover them against business losses for such causes as drought? Climate change has just changed quite a lot of things. Today we see electricity becoming scarce. We are used to hydro. So a lot of companies today, they are spending quite a lot on electricity because they have to use alternative methods. How does insurance cover all such risks? So to design a product, all I can say literally is that climate change affects the design of the products. And it takes a very innovative insurer to determine how like risks can be clustered and priced accordingly with the customer in mind. If as an insurer I'm going to be scared to cover my SMEs prospects for health, then they'll never be covered. So climate change is really a very big thing. Cyber technology is a big thing. There are so many changes that are coming through, and business has to evolve as such. But for the insurer, literally, to mitigate this, we need proper data in the domain of our market, so we could make reasonably priced products that are going to give the client value in the SMEs. Yes.
Great stuff, great stuff. Well, Mr. Jalabani, we have actually come to
You had so many questions for me.
We had to get everything, for the MSME.
You had so many questions. I would have loved to come and talk to these colleagues about, creation of value. We always fear to spend. Some expenditure is valuable because it protects your tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah, important expenditure.
I'm really so delighted that we've spoken about MSMEs, and I believe so many are listening to this conversation. Absolutely. And should they require assistance in how they can mitigate potential risks, the market is now wide. We are available to protect them. For those that need to get occupational plans, they can contact Prudential. I'm aware about other insurers who will be able to do that. We have very lucrative funeral policies, health and life, as well as individual cover. As an entrepreneur, you need to have proper security for yourself.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Great stuff. There you have it, our viewers. On this episode of the National Economic Indaba Show, we discussed all things insurance for MSMEs, and we had a very competent person to drive this discussion. in Mr. Victor Jalabani, who is an insurance and finance expert, as well as the head of operations for Prudential Insurance Zambia. And until, next week, Monday, when we bring you yet another exciting guest on the National Economic Indaba Show, my name is Nakiwe Simpungwe on behalf of the studio crew saying good evening.
Imagine having access to the latest news at your fingertips. Introducing the newly rebranded and improved Daily Nation website. With our innovative online flipping page feature, you can read the newspaper just like you would in print. Plus, with our subscription-based model, you will get access to exclusive content, archives, and more. So why wait? Sign up now and experience the future of news. Daily Nation, now at your fingertips.